In this lecture, we will talk about the evolution of supply chain management and different process views of a supply chain. Here is the outlines of this lecture. We will first talk about the evolution of logistic management. I roughly separate the development of logistic management into three different phases. Then I will introduce different decision phases in a supply chain. And finally, we will talk about different process views of a supply chain. Learning objectives. After this lecture, you should be able to draw a multi-echelon supply chain network. Describe different process views in logistics management. And you should be able to explain the different flow integrated in the supply chain. I will follow the outlines of this lecture I listed before, and I will first talk about the evolution of logistics management. Logistics management can be traced to the 1980s. It is safe to say that it was not until the 1990s that supply chains captured the attention of senior level management in numerous organizations. The senior managers began to recognize the power and the potential impact of logistics management to make organizations more globally competitive and to increase their market share with consequent improvement in shareholder value. Let's look at the evolution of logistics management. It can be argued that logistics management is not a new concept. Logistic management, or say supply chain management, represents the third phase of an evolution that started in 1960s with the development of the physical distribution concept. The physical distribution management focused on finished goods or the outbound side of a firm's logistic system. In other words, the distribution-related activity that occurred after a product was produced. In 1980s, the concept of business logistics or integrated logistics began to be recognized. This added the inbound side to the production point to the outbound side. This was really the second phase of development for the supply chain concept or say logistic management concept. As indicated previously, the integrated logistic management or say supply chain management was developed primarily in the 1990s and represented the third phase of supply chain development. A number of studies done during the 1950s and 1960s indicated the potential of the systems concept if it were applied in business-related situations. The focus of physical distribution management was on the system costs and analyzing trade-off scenarios to arrive at the best or lowest physical distribution system cost. The system relationships that exist among transportation, inventory levels, warehousing, exterior packaging, materials handling, and customer service cost centers were analyzed and evaluated. For example, the selection and use of a carrier, such as rail service, impacts inventory, warehousing, packaging, customer service, and materials handling costs. Various motor carriers would have a different impact on the same cost centers. While rail service would usually have the lowest transportation rate, there could be higher costs for inventory, warehousing, packaging, and so forth, which would result in higher total costs. The type of product, volume of movement, distance, and other factors would influence which mode of transportation would have the lower total cost. The initial focus on physical distribution or outbound logistics was logical, since finished goods were usually higher in value, which meant that their inventory, warehousing, materials handling, and packaging costs were relatively higher than for inbound raw materials. The impact of transportation selection was therefore usually more significant for total physical distribution costs. Managers in certain industries, such as consumer package or grocery products, high-tech companies, and other consumer product companies, as well as some academicians, became very interested in physical distribution management. This would be the first phase of the evolution of logistics management. Now let's look at the second phase of logistics management development. The 1980s were a decade of change with the deregulations of transportation, financial institutes, and the communication industry. The technology revolution was also well underway. During the 1980s, the business logistics concept developed in a growing number of organizations. Logistics, in its simplest form, added the inbound side to the outbound logistics of physical distribution management. You can see from this slide the logistic management start to manage all the material flow from the upstream stage of raw material supply point to the very downstream stage markets. And this was a logical addition since deregulation of transportation provided an opportunity to coordinate the inbound and outbound transportation movements of large shippers, which could positively impact a carrier's outbound costs by minimizing empty backhauls, which with deregulation could lead to lower rates for the shipper. Also, international or global sourcing of materials and supplies was growing in importance. Global transportation presents some special challenges for production and scheduling. Therefore, it became increasingly apparent that coordination between the outbound and the inbound dimensions of logistics systems provided an opportunity for increased efficiency and also better levels of customer service. The underlying logic of the systems concept was also the rationale for the development of logistics management concept, because in addition to analyzing trade-offs for total cost, it could also include the value or demand aspects of customer service effectiveness. Logistics management usually include procurement as an element in a logistics system. The rationale for the inclusion is the opportunity for a trade-off analysis between procurement quantity discounts, transportation discounts, inventory and warehousing costs, and other related costs to obtain the total lowest cost. During the second phase of logistics management development, the logistics engineers or logistics managers start to use the logistical network to represent the different kind of materials flow along the different stage of logistic network. The node in the network represent the member organizations or partner on different stage of supply chain, and the link between these nodes represent the material flow movement or the relationship between all the member partner and organizations. So you can see in this slide the logistical network can conceptually represent the different kind of material movement from the very upstream raw material supply or vendor to the downstream customer market. And use this logistic network, we can model the supply chain material flow movement from the upstream to downstream, and we can make use of different method of model to improve or to look at or to manage or control the material flow movement. Let's look at the third phase of logistics management. It can be roughly said that the third phase of logistic management started at 2000. Integrated logistics management became popular during the 1990s and continues to be a focal point for making organizations more competitive in the global marketplace. Supply chain management can be viewed as a pipeline or conduit for the efficient and effective flow of products and materials, services, information, and financials from the supplier's supplier through the various immediate organizations out to the customer's customer. It is a system of connected networks between the original vendor and the ultimate final customer. The extended enterprise or boundary spanning perspective of supply chain management represents a logical extension of the logistics concept, providing an opportunity to view the total system of interrelated companies and their impact for the final product in the marketplace in terms of its price-value relationship. This slide represents a simplified linear example of a hypothetical supply chain. A real-world supply chain would usually be more complex than this example because supply chains are often nonlinear and have more supply chain participants. Also, this slide does not adequately portray the importance of transportation in the supply chain. Transportation can be viewed as the glue which holds the supply chain together to allow the member organizations to operate efficiently and effectively as a system. It should be noted that some companies may be a part of several supply chains. For example, chemical companies may provide ingredients for manufacture of different products that will be distributed by many different retail and wholesale establishments. This slide also illustrates the basic characteristic of a supply chain. A supply chain is an extended enterprise that crosses the boundaries of the individual firms to span their related activities involved in the total supply chain. This extended enterprise should attempt to execute a coordinated or integrated two-way flow of goods, information, and financials. The three flows illustrated in this slide are very important to the competitive success of the organizations. Integration across the boundaries of the several organizations in a sense means that the supply chain needs to function like one organization in satisfying the ultimate customer by delivering an appropriate price-value relationship to products in the marketplace. The products flow and related services has traditionally been an important focus of physical distribution system and is an important element in supply chain management or logistic management. This particular flow is directly dependent on effective transportation. Customers expect their orders to be delivered in a timely, reliable, and damage-free manner, and transportation is critical to this outcome. This slide also indicates that product flow is a two-way flow because a growing number of organizations are involved in reverse logistics systems for returning products that were unacceptable to the buyer for some reason. For example, damage, maintenance, obsolescence, and so forth. Note also that networks for reverse system usually have to be designed somewhat differently than for the forward systems. The location, size, layout of facilities are frequently different. The transportation carrier that need to be utilized may be different. Consequently, there are a growing number of logistics companies that specialize in managing reverse flow systems for retailers and manufacturers. They can provide a valuable service in appropriate situations. The second flow is the information flow, which has become a very important factor for success in supply chain management. Information is the trigger or signal for the logistics or supply chain system to respond to a customer order. Traditionally, we have viewed information as flowing back from the marketplace as customers purchased products, and wholesalers and retailers replenished their inventory. The information was primarily demand or sale data, which triggered replenishment and was also the basis for forecasting future sales or orders. Note that in addition to the retailer or final seller, the other members of the supply chain traditionally react to replenishment orders. If there were long time interval between orders, the members of the supply chain were faced with uncertainty about the label and the potential pattern of demand, which usually result in higher inventory or stock out costs, or say safety stock. The uncertainty contribute to a phenomenon known as the bullwhip effect in the supply chain. One of the objectives of supply chain management is to mitigate the bullwhip effect by reducing the level of uncertainty. In traditional supply chains with independent organizations, the level or magnitude of uncertainty increased with the distance from the market or customer. Therefore, the level of safety stock increased to cover the degree of uncertainty as you move back through the supply chain. One of the desirable outcomes of supply chain management is the sharing of sales information on a more real-time basis to reduce uncertainty, which reduces the need for safety stock. In this sense, the supply chain is compressed through timely information flows from the marketplace. In other words, inventory can be reduced in the supply chain by timely, accurate information about demand. If point of sale data were available from the retail level on a real-time basis, it would help to mitigate the bullwhip effect associated with supply chain inventories and would reduce costs. It also be noticed that transportation plays an important role in the label of supply chain inventory. One of the components of transportation service was reliability of delivery. It was noted that if service was unreliable, companies carried more inventory or safety stock, which would be true along the whole supply chain. It was also noted that transit time had an effect on inventory. Longer transit times could contribute to higher inventory levels. Longer transit times combined with unreliable service exacerbate the need for safety stock in supply chain. Consequently, transportation is an important player in the whole supply chain in terms of efficiency and effectiveness. This slide also indicates a two-way flow of information. In logistics or supply chain environment, information flowing forward in the supply chain has taken on increased significance and importance. Forward information can take many forms, such as advanced shipment notices, order status information, inventory availability information, and so on. The overall impact of good forward information has been to reduce uncertainty with respect to order replenishment. A related aspect of forward information flow has been the increased utilization of barcodes and radio frequency tags, which can increase inventory visibility and help reduce uncertainty in the safety stock. The improved visibility of pipeline inventory, including transportation equipment, also makes possible many opportunities for improved efficiency, such as transportation consolidation and merging in transit strategies. This latter too has contributed to some shift in model selection because of the opportunity for consolidation of larger shipments and the opportunity to use merging in transit strategies to eliminate warehousing. The combined two-way flow of timely, accurate information lowers supply chain related cost, which also improves effectiveness or customer service. The third flow is financials, or usually and more specifically called cash. Traditionally, financial flows has been viewed as one-directional backward in the supply chain. In other words, This flow is payment for goods, services, and orders received. A major impact of supply chain compression and faster cycle order times has been faster cash flow. Customers receive orders faster, they are billed sooner, and the companies can collect sooner. The faster cash-to-cash or order-to-cash cycle has been very important for companies because it reduced the amount of working capital they need in their system. If cash flow is slow, a company needs more working capital to finance the processes until they collect from the customers. There are some companies that has negative working capital, or what financial organizations refer to as free cash flow. They collect from their customers before they have to pay their vendors or suppliers. This cash can be used for financial investment purposes or another source of funding for product development or other improvements. Cash flow measures has become an important metric of the financial community to gauge the viability of companies. Frequently, one will see in the financial analysis of an organization references to their cash flow situation. Supply chain management provides organizations with an opportunity to improve customer service and cash flow, and transportation service is an important part of these equations. Knowing the evolution of logistics management and their three phases of development, we can have a more clear definition in the related terminologies. And I also map these terminologies to Chinese translation. The first terminology is material flow management. In my opinion, the closest Chinese translation is 物流管理. Material flow management by the definition, it manages the transportation and storage of material flow on their journey from the original suppliers to final customers. And the second term is supply chain management. The Chinese translation is 供应链管理. It is a sequence of events intended to satisfy a customer. It can include procurement, manufacture, distribution, and waste disposal, together with associated transportation, storage, and information technology. Logistics management. Chinese translation is 运筹管理. Logistics management has the broadest range of definition. It includes both material flow management and supply chain management. And it is all the works and time related positioning of all resources or the strategic management of the total supply chain. It includes time, material flow, human resource, investment, and all the resources related to total supply chain. However, in practice, logistic management and supply chain management are often used interchangeably. So sometimes you don't have to very strict about how people use these two terminology.